Hello everyone and welcome to NFL Discussion. I'm your host and NFL enthusiast Dougie Duck. In today's episode we'll be discussing Sunday week 14 of the 2023 NFL season. On tap for today's episode we have Houston Texans versus New York Jets, Carolina Panthers versus New Orleans Saints, and Denver Broncos versus Los Angeles Chargers. And with that we'll go ahead and get right into the action. Starting with the Houston Texans, and the run game continues to be an issue for this team, even more so with injuries now piling up on wide receiver. Tank Dell went down last week with a season-ending injury, and then the game against the Jets, Nico Collins goes down with an injury, and also CJ Stroud enters concussion protocol as well. Now, give credit, and I will give credit to the Jets defense as it held the Texans to 135 total yards on Sunday. With that said, CJ Stroud did lose another receiver early in the game that beat Nico Collins. Tank Dell, as I talked about, suffered that season-ending ankle injury, and then Stroud himself went into concussion protocol. So with these injuries and the running game kind of stagnating at the moment, as the Houston ran the ball 19 times for 81 yards against the Jets. Maybe some wide receiver tryouts are in order. Top three of three guys available right now. Maybe not top three, but three guys certainly available right now: Jarvis Landry, Kenny Golladay, and Sammy Watkins. So it wouldn't hurt to bring in another wide receiver. That might be a good idea. The run game has been an issue for Houston all season. It looked like Devin Singletary was going to provide a spark with Dameon Pierce down with injury, and he certainly did at first, but that spark has since kind of worn off. So running game, as I said, continues to be an issue. Doesn't look like it's going to get any better, and now you have injury, now you have another injured wide receiver. So might be time to see if you can bring in some reinforcements, and hopefully Stroud doesn't miss next week with that concussion. New York Jets, so shout out to Zach Wilson. He gets a win and a confidence boost on Sunday. And over the past week, Robert Saleh had addressed reports about Zach Wilson's reluctance to resume his starting duties. Now, whether true or not, reports probably not true. Wilson still needed a solid performance to elevate his confidence. The Jets have benched him multiple times this season. In a win over the Texans, Wilson threw for 301 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had his best performance of the season by far, and he did it against a defense that tied for the second fewest passing touchdowns allowed through 13 weeks. Wilson gained some momentum as Gang Green prepares to play 3 of its last 4 games on the road. So, 1 game, 1 win. It's a step in the right direction. Is it going to mean much for postseason contention? Probably not, but at the very least he can say he got a win after getting benched again. So I guess there is that. And I guess we'll see what he does next week, if anything at all. Carolina Panthers. So I guess the next question for the Panthers in order to answer after the season is, should the general manager retain his position? He already answered the question about the coach, and that was no, the coach should not retain his position. But what about the general manager? So 2 weeks ago, the Panthers fired head coach Frank Wright, and they're probably not done cleaning house. Going into Week 15, the Panthers will have the league's worst record. They were the first NFC team to be mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. And while Wright was to blame for his own shortcomings, general manager Scott Fitter assembled this heavily flawed roster. The Panthers signed Miles Sanders to a 4-year, $25 million deal, and he's taken a backseat to Chuba Hubbard, averaging career low 3.5 yards per carry, if you include Sunday's 10 attempts, 74-yard rushing performance. Yeah, that Sanders deal looked like that's a free agent bust right there. That guy was meant to be your starter at running back, and he just hasn't played good football all season, so that was a bad contract. And then DJ Moore got traded to the Bears as part of that package for the number 1 overall spot, leaving Adam Thielen as the top receiver for Bryce Young. And Thielen has been productive, but he's also not a guy who should be your number 1 wide receiver. In 2 games before Sunday, Saturday, he's caught 4 passes for 27 yards. Fritter, who's 13 and 34 as Panthers general manager, should have his shortcomings in Carolina acknowledged and be held accountable. So I guess we'll see what Dave Tepper does. Does he hold the GM accountable for his own shortcomings or not? A lot of owners don't, or when they do, it's usually after some sort of big error, like John Robinson with the Titans when he traded away A.J. Brown. That's certainly a good way to get yourself fired. So I guess we'll see if he does retain his position after the roster he's going to have put together, or lack of roster thereof. New Orleans Saints. So team will go as far as the defense will carry them. So last week they lose an important divisional game against the Falcons, and then this week they get another divisional win, this time over the Panthers. So win's a win, and it keeps them tied in the run. I think it keeps them tied with the Falcons and Buccaneers in the run for the NFC South. So in order for them to win the division, their defense has to carry them, which is a tall ask for any defense. And I guess we'll see if they're up to it. The answer is probably no, because defenses can only go so far for carrying a team. But give them credit; they're still alive, albeit they play in the worst division in football. So on Sunday, their Saints dominated the one-win Panthers, but lost the total yards about 303 to 207. The Saints have a banged-up offense. Michael Thomas is still on injured reserve. Rashid Shaheed and Taysom Hill didn't suit up. Derek Carr played through a rib injury. E.T. Perry, rookie sixth round wide receiver E.T. Perry stepped up and led the Saints in receiving yards. Alvin Kamara recorded a team lead of 56 scrimmage yards. Going forward, the Saints will either need more from their offense or their defense to replicate Sunday's performance over the final 4 weeks of the season. If not, New Orleans will fall behind in the race for the NFC South title, although I'd make the argument that they are already behind, and that even though they got a tie going into Week 15, I don't think they're going to be able to win the division. Their offense has not been good all season, and I don't expect any sort of consistency from the offense. And the defense, I don't know how long they're going to hold up in order to try to help this team win. Denver Broncos, give credit to that defense here. Granted the offense is bordering the work itself, but the defense is what really stands out for this team, and it's what keeps them in the playoff picture. A 1-5 start with a historically bad defense feels like ages ago for the Broncos. With Sunday's dominant victory over the rival Chargers, the Broncos are now 7-6 and right in the mix of 5 other AFC teams that own the same record. Basically, 5 teams in the conference have managed 8 or more wins so far. At least 2 postseason openings. The Broncos need to treat the next 4 weeks like a high-profile horse race. A strong finish will determine exactly who reaches the end line. More importantly, the Chiefs lost to the Bills now places Denver 1 game back in the AFC West. All the horsepower Denver needs can be found on the defensive side of the ball. Vance Joseph leaned on a more aggressive approach, and it worked greatly in the team's favor. During Sunday's matchup, the Broncos accumulated 6 sacks and also 9 quarterback hits. The Chargers combined to go 1 for 18 on 3rd and 4th downs. Denver won the yardage, turnover, and time of possession battles, where the defense is certainly driving this current stretch of play. The Broncos did outgain the Chargers on the ground, as they've done to each of their opponents in the past 3 games. The company have found the recipe to success, albeit later than they would have liked. Still, the postseason and division crown are well within reach, which is crazy to think. It seemed like the Chiefs were going to hold on to the AFC West, and that grip is not so tight, and Denver is right there behind them. Denver is right in the thick of things, and they seem like a likely team to make the postseason. Unlike the Los Angeles Chargers, who are now left wondering what the status of their quarterback Justin Herbert is, or his status is for the rest of the season with a broken finger. If it wasn't already obvious, the Chargers should be looking toward the 2024 offseason, and looking forward to the end of the season as well. Sunday's outcome wasn't even the biggest loss of the day for the powder blue and yellow. According to Brandon Staley, Justin Herbert suffered what could very likely be a season-ending right index finger fracture. Prior to the injury, Herbert wasn't playing particularly well. He completed 9 of 17 passes for 96 yards and an interception at 5-8 with 4 games left to play. The Chargers are in the midst of another disappointing season despite all the talent on the roster. Clearly, Herbert isn't going anywhere, but the same may not be true for others, particularly Staley. Since Staley has taken over as head coach, the Chargers have put together a mediocre 24-23 record. 1 playoff appearance and quick departure in the first round isn't really going to do much for goodwill. maybe a roster renovation is coming. There are some guys set to hit free agency next year, like Austin Eckler and Jared Everett. Even before Herbert's injury, the Chargers never looked like the team that many believe they could be, and that's an indictment how the team is built and who is leading the way. So yeah, with each loss, it looks more and more likely that Staley will be let go after the season. But honestly, that just kind of that seem out of the question. It seems like the real question now is what about Tom Telesco, the GM too? What is his status as well? Does he get? It's interesting to see if he gets out. It's interesting to see what happens there, because it's not like he. Excuse me. It's not like he hasn't done a good job building this roster. He drafted Justin Herbert, and he kind of put all this talent around him. I think he was the one that brought in Keenan Allen and Austin. And I know he didn't bring in Austin Eckler. He brought in Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack as well. So the talent is there, and Tom Telesco played a part in building it up. And I do wonder if what's going on with the Chargers is simply just a coaching failure. It has nothing to do with the front office, but I guess we'll see how ownership feels after the season. And with that will conclude this episode of NFL Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below.